G'day guys, Josh here. Welcome to another audio guide. This is for the Iron Council. Now, Iron Council is kind of a choose your own encounter kind of thing. Basically, what happens is that you shouldn't be cleaving at all on this boss. The bosses don't share HP, and when you kill one boss, the other boss restores 100 HP almost immediately. So you can't kill both at the same time. But all these little bosses have their own abilities, and when you kill one, they gain extra abilities. Now, let's go through it very quickly as well. So, generally with this boss, the Assembly of Iron, or Iron Council as people call it, there's 3 ads, which is Steelbreaker, which is the big one right there. There's the medium one, which is the Rune Master Molgheim, and there's Tiny, which is Stormcolor Brundir. Now, for hard mode, for easy mode, what you want to do is you want to kill Stormbreaker first, and then you kill Molgheim, and then you kill Brundir. Let's go through the abilities. So basically, at the start, you have these 2 abilities here, which is basically High Voltage, which is a normal nature dot, and Fusion Punch that hits the tank. So basically what happens is that Fusion Punch will hit the tank, and basically you need to spell the debuff as soon as you can. It's a magical debuff, you want to cleanse it right away. High Voltage is a small nature AoE, which will get more threatening in hard mode. When you kill Steelbreaker, the other 2 ads will gain a new ability. So Molgheim will go from having Shields of Runes, which you need mages to spell steal, Rune of Power, which you need to move Steelbreaker or Brundir out of wherever he targets, or even he can target himself and have your players go in. The main reason why you want to do this is because it increases the damage of friendly and enemy targets by 50%, so you can have a lot of people in there with the runes doing max DPS. Next up is Shield of Runes. If a mage spell steals this as well, if his shield breaks, they get 50% extra damage as well, which is very, very important for mages because the burn phase later on can come very difficult in hard mode. Now, in addition, if Steelbreaker does die first or Brundir does die for it, it will do a Rune of Death. Now, a Rune of Death will happen anywhere across the room and it will happen instantly. He doesn't even cast it. So you have to go moving out of it very, very, very quickly, otherwise you die. Now, after you kill Molgheim, generally on normal mode it's not so important, but you want him to cast a Rune of Power. So essentially that you can step into it, kill him, and then use that 50% damage on the boss. Next up is Stormcaller Brundir, where his Chain Lightning is interruptible. All his abilities, he can be stunned. And other than Lightning Tendrils and Overload, you can stun and CC him. So basically a quick Hodge or quick interrupt will basically lock out most of his abilities. Now with Brundir at the start, he gets Chain Lightning and Overload. You don't need a kick on the Chain Lightning, but it helps having a kick on the Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning doesn't do so much damage. The main thing that will kill you is Overload. Overload basically sits there channeling energy for about 5 or 10 seconds, and he will kill you if you're still in it. That's pretty much it. Next up is the Lightning Well. The Lightning Well, what you can do with the Lightning Well is you can stun him. So when he does the Lightning Well, you stun him and it gets him out of it. Last but not least, he does the Lightning Tendrils when both bosses are dead. So when Molgheim goes down, that he will just get on some lightning webbing and go across and he will chase after a certain target. You just need to make sure you run away from him, and that's pretty much it. And that is normal mode of the fight, and that's how normal mode occurs. But for hard mode, it's a different story. For hard mode, you'll kill Brundir first, but you only have access to Overload and Chain Lightning. Brundir is very easy to kill, so it shouldn't be much of an issue for you. You just need to make sure the Fusion Punch and other stuff is dispelled off the tank. However, we need to go through Steelbreaker's other ability called Static Disruption. So Static Disruption will deal a giant lightning ball to the person who's far out, and it has a 10-yard AoE around it. Oh, it's not 10 yard, it's 14-yard AoE around it, and it'll deal it only to the furthest person. So generally what you do, you assign healers or any healers to do that. So your DPS can stand on the runes without getting hit by any of the nature damage. And the healers can rotate it in and out. Be aware that Static Disruption stacks. So you need to make sure that you rotate people in and out and don't spread the dot amongst a lot of people as well, because it also increases the nature damage taken by 50%, which means High Voltage does more damage at the same time. So you need to pay attention to these people who get Static Disruption. And also you need to make sure it doesn't spread. Last but not least, after Rune Master dies, so just an FYI, after Rune Master dies, essentially what you want to do as well, which is very, very important, given that the next Steelbreaker is a DPS race, is that you want Molgheim to drop a Rune of Power. Now, this is very, very important because basically you get 50% extra damage, which leads to your Zerg of Steelbreaker. Now, Steelbreaker gets the target called Overwhelming Power, which he starts probably about 20 seconds or 30 seconds into his phase. Now, Fusion Punch will be hitting very, very hard, just in case at this stage here with Supercharge increases damage by 50%. High Voltage will do a lot of damage, and then coupled with Static Disruption, which you still need to soak, does a lot of damage. So anyone with Static Disruption is basically a tank at this stage because they're taking so much damage to begin with. Now with Fusion Punch will now require an instant dispel and require a cooldown to keep the person alive, as he'll probably one-shot a tank without a cooldown or want some sort of defensive. Now, another one is with the overwhelming power is that the tank will have to be taunted off and a tank will have to run away. Basically, what happens is that after overwhelming power expires, the person dies. Now, they don't really highlight this in hard mode, but what happens is when the person dies or anyone dies at all during the fight, the boss is healed by 25% and he gets electrical charge, which deals 25% extra damage, which means that nobody can die during the fight other than the tanks from Meltdown. Now, you can also mitigate a overwhelming power by having a hunter deterrence and just chancing the luck that you stop an overwhelming power, so you can get an extra 35 seconds on the boss at lesser damage. But be aware when the first tank goes down that the damage is going to ramp up considerably. And if anyone else dies at all during the fight, it's most likely going to be a wipe, given the fact it become a 50% damage increase, and it's mostly unbearable at this point. You can be-res the dead tank and go for a third try if you wish, but it's going to be very, very hard to heal, and basically you will wipe very, very quickly. You got to remember that you have a 50% multiplier on another 50% multiplier from high voltage. Then if whoever's soaking Sack Corruption gets another 50%, and anyone taking a Fusion Punch gets another 50%, it's just basically you're not going to live that long. But overall, you just basically have to kill Steelbreaker in about 2 to 3 minutes, okay? You got very little time to kill it. That's why you need a Rune of Power, and you just basically need to just burn down Steelbreaker before he kills your 2 tanks, basically. You can keep a third one alive to see if you can burn that, eke that little bit out, and just roll cooldowns and just hope for the best. But it's going to be very, very unlikely that you're going to heal Steelbreaker past 2 electric charges or even 3 electric charges, to be honest. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for Iron Council. Hope you guys have a great day. And, be awesome. See you guys later. Peace out. Bye. Also, last but not least, I didn't explain the last mechanic for Meltdown. He just summons a bunch of ads, and you need to make sure they don't cast Lightning Blast. That's pretty much it. There's nothing too special. It's very unlikely that you'll kill Meltdown last. But if you want to get the Archivum discs to summon Algalon, and you don't want to kill Steelbreaker, you just kill Meltdown last. But I highly recommend you kill Steelbreaker last, because if you can't kill Steelbreaker last, you're not doing any of all the keepers hard modes anyway. Have a good one, guys. See you guys later.